Welcome back in, everybody, from the break. We hope you enjoyed the music, the tunes, maybe some ads if Choice decided to run them for you. We have a big matchup coming next. The loser of this one's day is finished. Not only is their day finished, their tournament life in PCC 7 is finished as well. We're going to have Flowstate taking on Roguenin, and we're going to do just a brief overview of the matchups for who is in each of these lanes. We've got Peak taking on Bondred in the off lane. Simba's going to be up against Jax in the jungle. Bry versus the classic Wangle mid lane matchup. Jay, who's kind of been having a pretty mean tournament, taking on Haru. And then Grussy and Penguin in the support role. We're going to pull up a little bit of stats because we've seen a lot of Richter contention throughout this. We're going to take a look at how he has done so far. See him played in 49 games so far. And as we said, there was only 51 of them. So Richter highly contested here. 60% pick rate, 35% ban rate, and a 58% win rate. Grady, what makes Richter so strong?
I mean, Richter is the king of control, right? The king of displacement. You hit one hook, you're pulling someone completely out of position, and most of the time you're pulling them into the entirety of your team. You're locking them down with that skewer. So Riplash into skewer combo plus the silence. Most of the time you hit that, you're guaranteeing that at least one person's dead.
I think so too. He can just have such a huge impact, so strong from level 1 all of the way through level 18 and, 5 items as well, soon to be 6. Thank you, Ometa. But I want to talk about just the state of this group 2 that we've been following. I feel like this had some juggernauts in it. 3 teams that everybody expected to make main event pretty much no matter what, with Roguenin, Flowstate, and D-Lab in. Only one of those last 2 can make it, as D-Lab has already qualified. Flowstate came into today as the team with the second most points and the second best spot from yesterday, now 1 game away from being eliminated from this tournament. Can you talk to me about Flowstate a little bit, Grady, and tell me how they've gotten to this point and what they need to do in this game?
Yeah, absolutely. So Flowstate, formerly known as Deja Vu in PCC 6, they recently roster swapped a couple of people. So they used to have Mercy as their jungle. Now they have Simba. They used to have BKB as their offlaner. Now they have Peak and Bry replacing Simba as the mid laner. So a little bit of a roster swap. They've still had a really strong showing. Yesterday in our Swiss stages, they played out of their 5 games. They only dropped 1 game to Professor, so 4-1 record yesterday. Absolutely amazing stand-up performance. Bry definitely in charge of the map in the early to mid stages of the game. I don't care what anyone says. That guy is everywhere, and if he's allowed to do what he wants to do, he's definitely he's putting a hurt on the other team. Simba so far favoring the control frontliney junglers. The duo lane of Gwissy and Jay always holding it down. They usually lean more towards damage heavy style. Like they like their Kiras over there, the Twin Blasts, the Drongos, and then Gwissy playing the caster supports, a lot of Bellica, a lot of Decker, sometimes mixing in a little bit of Richter, but Richter's been going more so towards Simba, and then Peak doing his best to try to hold his own versus a lot of the strong offlaners, and he's been doing pretty well.
I think so too. And we talked a little bit earlier before our very first game about Team Roguenin and how it is that, hey, if we're both single at 30, we're going to get married type of team put together. Tang, give us a little bit more details about this.
Yeah, it's a bit of an unholy creation between Rogue and Ronin. Ronin, one of the, if you don't know, one of the longest standing teams in Europe. And Rogue, obviously a known quantity in NA, and now they just mixed. It's basically the bottom side from Rogue and the top side from Ronin. So we have Bondred in that off lane together with Jax in the jungle. That's like the Ronin core, sort of. Both are known for being pretty aggressive, especially Jax. He just loves to be in the enemy jungle. We've seen some target bans against him as well. He loves playing the Chimera, for example, just leverage that early game in order to get those leads and then just transition them into the late game. Then in the mid lane, we talked about the guy that Wangles the best. It's of course Wangle himself. Usually loves to play those control mages, but honestly plays everything. We saw him on the Morigesh today as well. Just overall, just really solid in the mid role. And then we have Haru and Penguin on that duo lane with Haru, the ADC for Rogue, a long time sort of member. Usually doesn't really necessarily solo carry games, but he is pretty solid at just playing smart, at getting those sort of macro leads. And then Penguin, sort of newer to the scene, does have the mechanical talent, but sometimes goes a bit too far in. Definitely Roguenin has a lot to prove, have lost against D-Lab, sadly today already. It did look a bit rough at times as well. Meanwhile, Flowstate was actually a pretty close game that some could argue they should have won as well.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, they both lost to my boys on D-Lab, and the winner of this is in, the loser is out, but our draft is ready for the most pressured game so far in PCC 7. Who were we expecting to see this start with, Grady?
As far as bans go, very strong bans that I would like to see, probably Argus or Richter, whichever one Flowstate doesn't want to play for. It does look like they really, really do like that Richter, so I'm really thinking we're probably going to see an Argus ban, just so we can make sure that we get that Richter pick first without giving up the Argus, but it is a Kwong ban, so getting rid of the Kwong so that way neither Jax nor Bond can play it. So they can pick up their first pick safely without giving up something they don't want to play against.
Yeah, now Roguenin with the bans. We saw Bryce Argus before, so I don't think that they necessarily want to play into it. It was kind of a masterclass performance against D-Lab. We saw it before, but now it is their time to ban. I personally would definitely expect the Argus ban, but that leaves a few other priority picks open to be picked early, right? We're thinking about the Rampage, I'm thinking about the Bellica, and also the Richter that we were highlighting before, right? 60% win rate, sort of on a tear, really volatile hero, but if it hits, then it's just really, really insane.
I have a feeling that over on the side of Roguenin, we're probably going to see a more EU-style draft, being that we have 3 EU players with Penguin, Bondrewd, and Jax. Argus being the ban from Roguenin, very smart ban. We don't want to give that over to Flowstate. And Bellica as the first pick, very nice flex. Bry and Gwissy, both very strong Bell players. Then we see Rampage being picked up for Jax over on Roguenin. Very, very strong jungle pick right now. I know that he's going to be able to apply a lot of pressure on the map, and Jax is very good at doing that.
And I think it sort of what you just said, it just fits pretty well into this draft. Like we see Bellica, sort of like one of those picks that NA really loves. In EU, we like it as well, but maybe not quite as much as NA does. But we are just in love with the Rampage. We love the Frog Monster in the jungle, throwing those rocks around. So Roguenin just instantly goes for that pick. Now, we also have a second pick for Ronin. Like, I'm thinking like maybe the mid-spool. Like, we did see the Argus ban and the Bellica pickup. So if you want to go for a counter pick, it could be the Howitzer, or we go for more of a bruiser sort of pick. But instead, we see the D-Lab Classic with the Drongo in the first rotation.
Very surprised to not see Richter in the top 3. Not a first pick from Flowstate, and not getting picked up from Roguenin. We instead pick up the Drongo when that Ramp-Rick combo is really strong, especially when you have Rampage playing through the duo lane. We do see that Flowstate does pick up the Xerath. We still have another spot. I know that Flowstate really favors the control-heavy comps, so I'm probably expecting to see either a Decker or a Richter. Hopefully we get to see one of those. That is definitely the Flowstate style of play, and we're gonna see here in just a second what we end up getting.
Yeah, or potentially even both, right? That would be kind of insane as well, with the Richter being able to be flexed in the jungle together with a lot of hard CC and other rows is usually the recipe to disaster for the enemy team. But yeah, as you mentioned, Grassy, we see the Richter being locked in, so that could go in the jungle. It could still go in the support role. So with the Bellica, Xerath, and Richter, all of those are flexes. Really hard to know where exactly they go. But a hero where we are pretty sure where it goes is the Howitzer, probably in Wangler's hand in the mid lane for Roguenin. Now we swap over to the bans. So with 3 picks on each side, we have a ban for Ronin, we have a ban for Flowstate next.
Just like you said, Flowstate very intelligent with their first 3 picks. 3 characters, we have no idea where any of these are going, right? Rick in the jungle, Rick in the offlane, Rick in the support role. Xeris also we've seen in support, jungle, and offlane. Belica, of course, very strong flex, so very nice. We don't know where any of these characters are going to go. However, on the side of Roguenin, all of these roles are locked in, right? Rampage, jungle, locked in. Drongo ADC, locked in. Howitzer, mid lane, locked in. These characters, we're not going to see them anywhere else. One thing that I would like to see, okay, the steel band, very
Ooh.
nice. Try to get rid of some extra frontline, extra beefiness that the Roguenin could bring. Looks like a Gideon ban out from Roguenin, so they really think that either Belica is 100% going into support, or they just want to kind of kill that flex option, right? Like they want to disable different mid picks that they could use in order to flex that Belica over. So very interesting to see there. I will say, picking that howitzer after seeing Richter locked in is absolutely bold. Every mid laner knows that howitzer and Richter is living in Howie's head rent free. Big refrigerator, easy hooks. It's definitely going to be a scary time for Wango in the mid lane.
Definitely gonna be a scary time. The question is, can he boop better than the Richter can hook? We're gonna have to wait and see. But yeah, Gideon being banned away hopefully forces the Belica in the mid lane. At least that's the thought process for Roguenin, because that matchup is actually pretty Howie favored, with Howie just being able to outrange the Belica in most circumstances. Now we see that Mural being locked in for Roguenin, so a bit better dive options together with Disengage for the Drongo and Howitzer. So maybe if a Richter hook connects with that Reversal of Fortune, you can actually buy a bit more space. Flowstate though answer with a Kira.
Yeah, a very interesting draft so far coming out of Roguenin. Very little CC, and most of the CC that we have is a single target or very small radius, right? We have Howie Boop as our CC, we have Ramp Rock as our CC, but outside of that, we're really looking at some slows, some soft CC. Whereas over on the side of Flowstate, like I mentioned previously, the name of the game is control, right? We have Xeris, we have Richter, we have Belica, lots of zone control, lots of CC. Somebody gets hit by CC, they're going down 100%. Maybe the Muriel shields can save them, and that might be what they're looking to do. But yeah, very, very interesting. We got even more control on top of the control. So I have some more control for your control. We have Decker, Richter, Xeris, Belica. That is an absolutely devious and scary team comp. We have you in the front to back. We have you in the picks. Roguenin definitely have to be out on the lookout for all the CC.
Yeah, I love this, especially with the Kira as well, right? With the ultimate, you can just lock her in a cage, and actually 2 cages together with that enemy team. Yeah, a lot of lockdown on the side of Flowstate. Ronin answers with a Greystone, so maybe a bit of dive that could go. Actually, at this point, with the Rampage being picked up, it is gonna go into Bondroot's hands in the offlane. Honestly, against the Saris, I'm personally not the biggest fan. I think Saris just walks over the Greystone, but maybe Bondroot can prove me wrong. Yeah, with those 2 teams, I honestly have to agree with Grazi. I don't really see Ronin unless they get the leads early, unless they can actually leverage that Rampage to get those sort of early kills. I don't really see a way for them to win out in those team fights towards the mid to late game.
Flowstate's feeling like that exhibit meme, right? Hey, dog, we heard you like control, so we put some control in your control so you can control while you can control. We'll see if Ronin can try to break the rules and get away from this. But to take us into the game, we've got Spooky Mars on the double duty 2 games in a row, but this time he's joined by Mana Class. Take it away, fellas.
I think Spooky has not realized that his mic is muted, but that's all good. Spooky, are you good?
I think I'm good. My apologies both for the muted mic and for taking away the dog cam. I know that was probably very popular in chat for a little while there, but we're here to bring some class to the action with Man of Class joining us on the cast here. Mano, and we've seen the drafts, we've seen these teams a few times already. Just walk me through what you're thinking here as you're looking over these drafts.
I mean, I think the desk put it really well. If Roguenin does not manage to get an early lead, or at least, does not really get behind in the early game, then they have a shot, but it's going to be a tricky one to pull out. And honestly, when you look at a team that is running wow, look at the early invade already. When you look at the team that's going to go with the Muriel, you really want to build that power up as fast as you can, because Muriel only gets stronger when the game goes on. Like, we're looking at a fairly scaly composition and in one situation, but also at a composition that kind of needs to get some value in the early game. They need to just not get behind. That is pretty much what it comes down to. If they can't get behind, it's going to be in trouble. Flowstate, though, I mean, they've got so much to work with, both escape and lockdown. And what do you really have to work against that if you're Ronin? You've got one stun coming up from a rampage, and that's about it, right? Like, there's a little bit of silence with the Drongo. You got some protection from your Muriel, but they have a lot less of those larger tools to work with. But with that global presence of the Muriel, you could maybe look at more of a split push going on, which could be a very interesting thing to go for if Flowstate keeps grouping up.
Yeah, it really feels like that once these fights start, Roguenin has a composition that's pretty much designed to just kind of stay in the fight and try to outlast the enemy. It'll be a question of how durable they can be against the lockdown that Flowstate has built up. And already over in this right side of the map, some small trades happen. Bonju not taking the better end. Peak, who hits level 2 first, was close enough to not give too much of an advantage either way here. So if I'm looking at trying to get a lead in this game, right? If I'm Flowstate, I'm looking across the map, where do you think I'm putting the first signifiers of aggression?
You'd have to look towards the mid lane and a duo lane. I don't think that solo lane is going to do anything until the Greystone hits level 6, and even then, you just don't have the damage to outlive against that Zarus at the moment. But Wango could very much do a little bit of mid laning here and get something going for them. Just hopefully they can get enough going that at least it will be a little bit of a lead. And with the mid lane being ahead, they can also start rotating a little bit more, helping out in that solo lane and that duo lane where necessary. So that might be where this game is won and lost for Roguenin.
And mid laners do like doing the mid lane things. Well, some small pathing heading over towards this mid lane. Wangle may be in for some company here. So he's aggressing onto Peak with Jax, but Jax get pulled back by Simba. Wangle immediately blinks out, but he's followed immediately by Peak, who secures the first blood. Jax now trying to return the favor, see if he can get the 1-for-1, but the rest of his team's on the way. Flowstate not willing to give this one up. A blink for blink comes in, and Simba locks Jax down, and Peak gets 3.5 minutes into the game. Flowstate starting off strong.
The one sort of light you can get from this is that you get some more farm going for your Greystone on the solo lane, but that must hurt. That's gotta hurt. Getting that double kill, not getting anything in return other than a little bit of pressure on the solo lane. And now Haru's under fire.
Yeah, Haru blinks out, but he gets followed immediately by Jay, who finds the kill, puts one more on the board. Penguin now under duress, just needs a little bit more damage, doesn't quite connect, and you saw the ability come over the wall there. Bri made the rotation, just a little bit shy of connecting on that one.
That would have really been, I would say, even 4 minutes in, that might have already have been the nail down the coffin if you also get that elimination from Bri. But with these rotations from Flowstate, again, the main advantage you get from this, if you are Roguenin, or can get from this, is that they are aggressing on a part of the map. Another part of the map is therefore less occupied, aka you gotta get some map control out of that. And we could see a situation in which Roguenin just manages to push objectives better in terms of the towers, and that the lanes open up a bit more as a result. That hasn't started happening just yet, but that is a potential conclusion of what Flowstate has been doing.
Well, Roguenin, for their part, send Wangle over to that right side, try to catch some more farm to make up the farm he lost after that death. Does come back, doesn't hang around too long. Still feels like Roguenin are kind of in a catch-up state, right? Wangle's slightly behind as expected after you die there. What with the aggression that Flowstate has been setting, we're going to see another one coming out from Gwassi. Doesn't quite connect on the plasma ball there. Wangle should be alive for now. it's just across the board, aggression and rotation, and the pace is being set by Flowstate right now. I mean, just look at the minimap. You can see over there Peak stepping forward, trying to get aggressive in the right side. Jax trying to find something over here on the jungle, but all he can do is de-ward and secure his own camps. I don't know, like, is it to the point where Roguenin is starting to see this game slip away, or do they still have plenty of time and room to just slow things down, farm up, and be in an okay spot?
Their main glimmer of hope currently is that Bondrewd is not falling behind at all, which is something that can happen to Bondrewd at times, like as a player, but he hits the first level 6. Now he can properly fight against Peak because he's got that second life going, and Peak hasn't hit the ultimate yet, so he can do it pre-Colosseum. We'll have to be worried about this Richter coming in, though.
Uh-oh, Simba is here. Oh, he doesn't have any way to get into the ult. He gets silenced out, and Bondrewd falls. It doesn't matter if you hit level 6 if you can't use the ability. That's just one more for Flowstate, taking advantage of everything. Now Jax, rotation in, looking for Bribe, but the knockup comes through, buys this battle cut a little bit of time, trying to find a way back. Blink is good, Boulder doesn't hit, and Bry gets to survive. One more day, one more gank.
Once again, though, 2 lanes in which they hit the level 6 first. Might not matter if this dual lane gets blown up, though.
Haru taking so much damage, that does not secure the kill. Haru just barely alive by the end of things. The cage just kept the Muriel away from being able to do anything there. And this just looked like full control from Flowstate.
It's a really rough matchup if you're essentially blocked from doing anything you want to do. Both those steel walls, but as well as the gates that our lovely Decker puts up. Jack's still able to de-ward, though, able to keep that river nice and clean, nice vision up around the Fangtooth pit as well for Ronin. They're doing a lot of things right. They're just not finding the same eliminations that Flowstate is finding.
As long as they're keeping up on their farm, it should be okay. Jax makes the rotation, comes on in, double jump up towards Peak. I don't know, he gets out of this one. Slow comes through from the Stoneforged Soul, back down, but Jax is the only one diving. Colosseum is not going to do the job. Jax takes some shots, but walks back out of the tower, and finally Roguenin on the board.
And the sooner that we can see Peak rotate to other lanes, the sooner, like basically the sooner they get the tier 1 tower, the sooner it's going to be good for Roguenin. But currently they are about to lose this first Fangtooth to Flowstate, which is going to be a big boon towards their team. Simba just smacking away, finding that hunt, and getting the Fangtooth down to the ground. Meantime, we do... yeah, like I said, got the first kill on the board for Roguenin. They finally showed that they can actually do some damage. But again, it has to be in that solo lane or in that mid lane that we're really looking. That duo lane, not really now able to do much other than just farm and sit back a little bit. But at least they haven't really lost too much in terms of the XP lead, or loss, rather. The only one that's really ahead is Decker for some reason, because, well, they've been everywhere.
So... I want to talk a little bit about the value of that first Fangtooth, right? Obviously, it's the first objective. It's a pace setter. We'll have to come back to it here as Peak, once again, under duress. Boulder straight to the face. It's going to push him back. He does take the blast seed, gets himself a little bit further away, but Jax keeps on going forward. He's by himself. His Bondrewd has already disengaged from this. Now under the tower by yourself, you get the kill, but you trade out 1 for 1. Simba, not able to do the damage. That kill credit does go to Peak. I don't know if that's entirely worthwhile.
I mean, all the lane XP is still now going to Peak, which is really good because they get to just keep on farming, which is a really big deal. Bondrewd. Bondrewd on that Greystone doesn't have to fight as long as they don't, get forced into it. So they keep growing as a hero, which, because of all the pressure on the Peak has not really been able to do as much of. There's been not a lot of rotations from the Xerath. There has been no eliminations from the Xerath, and the way they play around that solo lane is why. Whether it will be enough for the late game and the mid game is, of course, still the question. But so far, they're keeping the Xerath as contained as you can keep a Xerath, if you want to look at it that way. We do now see Jax rotating through his blue jungle, might go over to the dual lane, even though there's not much to do there at the moment. But both teams really want to start looking at this mini prime if they at all can.
And right now, mini prime feels like it's still more advantageous in Flowstate's favor there. Sure, we've seen Peak go down a couple times there, but Flowstate is still overall ahead however slightly, in gold and XP, at the control that Simba brings to these fights. I mean, yeah, you can go into the Behemoth, but is that really gonna keep you alive through all the damage and all the CC that Flowstate can throw out? You have to wonder if it would be more beneficial to maybe just split the map. Do you think Roguenin give up that mini prime and just say, okay, let's make a play for the second Fangtooth, just try to stall that mini prime until it's up?
Haru and Penguin stay too long.
He's gonna go down very quickly. That pull puts him in the dirt. Jay just gets one more kill for Flowstate.
It wasn't like they were putting pressure down correctly because I had seen Guasi be in the mini prime pit putting a ward down. So Guasi wasn't there. So you have a 2v1 situation against that Kira, which is good to put pressure on. But unfortunately, the rotation from both the Richter and from Guasi on that Decker came in a little too quickly, and they weren't back enough in time. Did a bunch of pressure on the tower, so at least there's that. But still, a lot of solo XP for that Kira, which is putting a gap bigger between her and the Drongo, Jay.
2 boulders miss. Behemoth is used by Jax under this tower, and he's taking a lot of shots. He should be able to survive it. But, oh no, he gets pulled back in by Simba! And one more shot is all it takes. He said, hey buddy, you like this tower? Take one more.
Every time they think they have enough of an opportunity to get something on a lane because Simba is on the other side of the map or was just there, they instantly, or they just take too long to do it, and Simba still makes it to the other side of the map in time. Then they can go for that mini prime, take it essentially for free, and 7-3 is the kill score. It's not a giant gap. It's not something that, you know, is insurmountable, but we do have Flowstate being ahead. They took both neutral objectives, and they the only thing they haven't really done is put a ton of pressure on these towers. They're still all online. In fact, it's going to be Roguenin that finds the first tier 1.
Haru able to push that one down. That should give Roguenin a little bit of room to breathe. It gives them a little bit more map control. They can rotate out a little bit more easily. It's not quite as good as that mid lane tier 1 going down. That's the one you really want to see fall. But it's a start. It gets them some gold in their pockets and keeps things alive. They haven't been getting any of these objectives. So at least seeing a tower, a structure on the map go down, that's a good sign for them. Question is, though, how much of a window do they really have here? We've seen a lot of aggression from Jax, maybe some overcommitments. And with this Fangtooth now coming up, I gotta think that's where they should be playing for, right?
Yeah, I mean, both teams obviously want to go and play for that, but first they want to try and get Bry out of the way. Jax missing the jump, Bry taking the flower to just jump a little further. Does Jax have the movement? Do they have the blink online, for example? I don't think they're going to be able to make it. This time they don't chase too deep, but there will be other players, everyone congealing around this mini prime pit.
Yeah, Peak being forced away by Bondrude. Riplash doesn't quite connect. That's going to keep Jax alive. However, he does need a stun for his trouble. Shield comes through to keep him alive. Blink comes forward. Simba looking for a little bit more, but he gets knocked away before the skewer comes out. It doesn't matter because Jay stacks it up, pops the dust, puts one down. That opens up everything now for Flowstate. Look at these towers. They can start looking at the Fangtooth right after. The mini prime still around them. This is an easy push.
Yeah, we do get the wise choice, at least, for Bondrude to say, I'm going to keep pushing this solo lane, keeping the pressure on there, get my own XP going. But without your jungler, you cannot really contest that Fangtooth. They took a little time to go there, so there might be an opportunity to jump back in as a 5 if you are Roguenin. And they do have the Xerath missing on the side of Flowstate, so there is an opportunity here, again, to push into this pit and potentially catch them as they're leaving.
Did he just steal that? No, he did not. Flowstate got it.
He didn't.
I saw a boulder come through. I thought they got it. No luck.
I was really wondering what you were freaking out about, but yeah, no, he almost did it, but not quite. The number quickly went to 2 for Flowstate, unfortunately. But they do get some opportunities to push forward at Roguenin because they had to chase them out of that Fangtooth pit. Haru under pressure. The Colosseum comes down, blinks away though. Wango's still in there, but so is Penguin and Bondrude.
Bondrude pushing forward, trying to force Peak out. Rain does not secure the kill. That's going to keep Flowstate alive for now. A lot expended from Roguenin. They didn't really find anything at all for it. They kept their team alive. But I mean, that's like the bare minimum you're looking for in that fight. You're at least trying to get a kill there. Instead, you walk away, lose a tower. Fangtooth goes the way of Flowstate. Everything is beginning to stack up here, Mano. And it's in favor of
It's
Flowstate right now.
it's very explainable as well, right? Like before you saw Jax going down, Jax gets CC like 3 or 4 times, then they go to the Fangtooth Pit. After the Fangtooth Pit, all Roguenin have is that rock. Even when the rock hits, they still don't have the damage to follow up quickly enough to burst the hero down. They need just one extra little thing, no matter what it would be, but one extra little thing in order to actually get these eliminations. That's why this kill score is the way it is, and that's why Flowstate is getting these eliminations, because they can over CC, because they don't have to worry about anti-counter CC. They can just commit. It's fine.
And Bondru getting pushed out as well. It's like you said, there's just not enough lockdown. They can do the damage, but they can't do the last bit. Angle falling as well to Jay. One more in favor of Flowstate. And it's starting to feel like Roguenin doesn't really know what they want to do to answer what Flowstate has been putting down. It's been a lot of aggression, a lot of rotations. But I think the biggest thing, Mano, is that a lot of these kills have been picks. They've been finding someone pushed too far up or just by themselves, overwhelming them with numbers, and just killing them very quickly. We haven't seen really too many full-on fights. We saw one, I think, so far, and it didn't go Roguenin's way, but at least looked a little bit better. I don't know, do they need to start fighting more as 5? Do they just need to rotate more members in?
Oh,
That's not
Bondru might
good.
be in trouble
Hey,
here. No, they
ultimate.
got the save.
Be a little bit more aggression, but Bondru recognizes he can't keep this one going too much. That jump forward might be too much. Does use the blink, keeps himself alive. Gwassi and Peak are willing to take a step back and watch that one go.
I needed to recharge that mana, otherwise they might have kept going on Bondru's side. To potentially get a little bit of a 1v1 peak over there on the dual lane. But for now, they are just going to explore their jungles on the red side of the map.
It's a very interesting place. Lots of wildlife to experience, sights to see and enjoy. I've noticed it's not a very relaxing place. Everything seems to attack you in there, but apparently they can fight back, so they're all right with that. On Druid, now making a rotation back into this lane. Looking at Peak, but Gwassi is still here as well. Has to be careful. Might shift the attention. Cage comes down, jump forward. Like I said, once again, there's no lockdown there, and Wangle gets pulled back in, skewered down! And Flowstate just punish the aggression and show you why you pick for the CC.
Oh, they had one lockdown, they didn't hit the rock. Gwassi just walks away because Decker is slippery, and now they can go for that mini prime. Don't have to worry about Wangle coming in. Still a lot of damage and just, stuff they can do on the side of Ronin. But have to find an opening to get somebody going, to get a pick off, to get something. But they can't displace anybody, they can barely stun anybody. And all they can do is try and save someone from too many stuns through using the Muriel effectively. But Bondru just running for the hills once again. Waiting for the minion wave. Oh, they got blocked midair.
There's just nothing he can do on this one. He can try to run, but he cannot hide. And Peak, Coliseum just puts him down. One more to Flowstate. 3-11 now as we're 19 minutes in. As we're approaching this 20-minute mark, I think it's pretty clear what Flowstate wants to do here. They've got one more Fangtooth to secure, then an Orb Prime will be coming up for them. And they're all in position here, Mano. I don't see a way for Roguenin to step forward and push them off of this objective. Sure, they've got Jax alive this time. Still missing this Greystone. Behemoth is popped. Jax goes in, but he immediately has to go right back out. And that is a Fangtooth for the 3rd time to Flowstate.
Yeah, they really wanted to time it right so they could maybe throw the hunt on. That's why they rocked the Richter, so they can get that jungle advantage. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough.
Oh.
Wango gets hooked once again, gets just blown up right there. I mean, at this point, you gotta start wondering, is Wango just out of position, or is it just that Flowstate's everywhere where Wango it could potentially be, and they're just there without him noticing? There's so many questions, right? Bondru's gonna try and chase this down, but if you chase too far, you're gonna run into the rest of Flowstate. Don't go too far, Bondru. Bondru realizes that they shouldn't go too far.
There's quite a few questions, and so far Flowstate putting down all the Amsters. They're the ones certainly living up to their names. They've hit their flow state, and they're looking to ride it all the way through. Jax coming in. He wants to try to contest this Orb Prime, jumping over, taking the blast, but locked down immediately. He does it! He steals it away! That one goes to Roguenin! But can they get their way back out? Bond Druid locked in the pit, jumps on over, but it's straight into Peaks, waiting spears, looking to put him down. Richter pulls him back, puts one down, but a 1-for-0 trade, and taking the Orb Prime away, that's a win for the Roguenin.
And look at that sneaky Drongo on the other side of the map. Took away a tier 2 tower, goes into the jungle, and has just taken the red buff away as well. They did their job. They're split pushing. I said it at the start. Split pushing might not be an awful idea. And if you don't lose too much in these pit fights, and if you take away or prime objectives without losing anybody but maybe your Greystone, then honestly, not a bad trade. In fact, that's a great trade here for Roguenin. And this is one of those moments where they at least have stayed their execution, but might even have started an opportunity for a comeback.
Now, the question is, though, Mano, what do they do with this Orb Prime? What can they do? Because make no mistake, they're still quite far behind. There's still 3 Fang Teeth behind. There's still 2 Mini Primes behind. Kills, gold, XP, it's all favoring Flow State right now. I'm not convinced that this Orb Prime...
Yeah, the XP is kind of quite equal, actually. It's just Bondru that's a little behind, but everyone else is looking pretty good in terms of equalizing in levels. So it's not too bad. But yeah, I mean, honestly, the Orb Prime will allow them to either try and team fight where if they really need to, but it also allows them to feel a little bit safer and also to deny mostly the push for Flow State, right? Like Flow State had a momentum going. You said it yourselves, like, oh, they got the Fangtooth, they got the Orb Prime, and then they can start pushing. Now they cannot start pushing because they don't have the Orb Prime. So that's the thing that Roguenin mostly got out of that. But they can also now make sure that every single lane, if they keep like lane phasing for a little bit more, is going to be a bit safer for everybody and actually feel more equal in terms of every single statistic. So let's see what they actually do with it. Bondred, of course, can't do anything to do it with because they died, but at least these lanes aren't being pushed in as aggressively anymore, and they get to make their own space now.
Well, that's the real question, though, is can they afford to keep laning? But if they have to start looking to group up with this Orb Prime and try to get some gold off this map, there's structures left standing, and that can be gold in the pockets. They take one down, still one in mid lane, and inhibitors to look at as well. Roguenin look like they're opting for the grouping here.
They're trying to find another tier 2 tower. They have equalized structures right now, but they might be able to do a little bit more. If they don't, they could still lose this left tower to Bry, though. I think Bry might just take this away before anyone can get there, unfortunately.
But they should have numbers advantage on the right side as a result of that, but not looking to pressure it. They know where Bry is. They're playing this one slow and safe. Jax maybe looking for a flank as the tier 2 goes down on the left side. Bond Druid is the one furthest forward. Into the stasis goes Wangle, and the Coliseum drops on the back end. Haru is a target, but Make It Rain drops fire from the skies. It puts Peak down. Now the Roguenin want to aggress forward. Find a rock. It connects onto Simba. Can they find another kill here? He's very low, but he's still somehow alive. Tick damage not going to be enough to put him down, and the rock goes wide. They still have an opportunity to keep pushing. The angle is reset. Back to base to defend that inhibitor. It means that the rest of Roguenin are also pulling away. We're not going to see any more push.
Yeah, they also see the realization we need to get these lanes on the left and mid pushed out so we have a better placing around Fangtooth. And with them losing the tower just there, they do need to make sure that they reset that wave properly. Bry's going to reset because Fangtooth is up, but that means they might have an opportunity to go for a 5-man Fangtooth start. And it's a primal as well, but they got to be careful because that primal Fangtooth, it could just as well be a teammate for your opposition if you're not clever with it.
Yeah, that Flow State, they definitely want to get in on this primal, but they're going to be wary because the last time they started one of these objectives without proper vision, without proper control, it did get stolen away. So Jax, have to wonder if he's maybe a target for Flow State right now. Try to force him out before they start up this objective to really make sure they can secure it without being a 50-50 here. And indeed, Flowstate take a step back. It seems we're just waiting for the right opportunity to get aggressive here. They're back in the pit. Roguenin's still a ways away.
They want to they kind of are okay with Flowstate starting the Primal Fangtooth as long as they don't finish it, right? Like, again, at that point, you're essentially saying, hey, Primal Fangtooth, attack the other team. We'll come in later and finish you off and them in the process as well. So that's why neither team is actually going into the pit first. They want to have an advantage of some kind, and currently neither team really has a definitive advantage.
So far, so smooth for Roguenin. They're still 9 kills down on the scoreboard, but you wouldn't guess it from the way they're playing right now. They're playing confidently. They're stepping forward, and they know what their game plan is. Like you said, they want Flowstate to start this up so they can get a small health advantage on that trade. Simba looking for any kind of pull here, but no one's willing to give it to him, and for good reason. You get pulled by him at any point here, probably losing a teammate. Roguenin have to make sure they're stepping back, staying safe. Just allowing Flowstate to start up that Fangtooth once again.
Oh no, Wangle. Wangle's so alone.
That spot already half health. Coliseum comes down, but Make It Rain does not get him out. Bry just drops him down. That could be the advantage that Flowstate was looking for. Bondruid also not in a great spot, but able to take a step back, not get caught out here. One significant damage dealer down for Roguenin. Flowstate start up the Primal. Jax on the back end. Bondruid looking for a way on in. Penguin and Haru also coming around. This could be a 4-on-5. Bondruid goes into the ultimate to get skewered. Somehow still alive. Penguin doing so much damage. Simba very low and he gets burned away by the Primal. Jay trades out the Haru. No ADC for Roguenin. That's all their damage gone. And only Penguin left alive. I don't see any way Muriel steals this away.
I mean, they don't have the Richter. There's a small chance. We've seen it earlier today. We've seen it earlier this game from Jax as well. The Penguin's going to get caught out before they get the chance, get blown up as well. Unfortunately, Flowstate, they found the lone Wangle. And when Wangle was gone, one of the highest damage heroes on that side, there was so much more damage on the side of Flowstate left that there was no way Roguenin could actually win that fight. They started it off decently. They pulled out a lot of resources with nobody dying, but they only found Simba, and Flowstate finds the Primal Fangtooth. That's 4 Fangtooths, including, of course, that Primal one, and now they can start roaming around the map again. We're gonna look towards the next objective, but they might not even need it to start trying to end this game. Jax with the Unbroken Will's the only one of the few anti-CC tools they have, but they just still don't have a lot of CC of their own.
Wangle stepping up by himself. There's no way for him to get into this Orb Prime. This one should once again go the way of Flowstate. I don't see a steal happening here. Simba confirms. Wangle can only walk away. Make sure he stays alive. Now be careful getting out. Make sure he doesn't get collapsed on, but there's enough space. Now, it comes down to defense, Mano. What does Roguenin look like on these defenses?
I mean, look, we've seen it before where I think Wangle didn't quite try that with around the Primal Fangtooth. I think they just went a little too far forward on that off lane and the dual lane they got collapsed on. But they've been really good at this sort of split pushy style, like keeping the split push alive even through all these positions. Because right now there is a push coming through with a double buff for Flowstate. So Roguenin. Right now, you can't really split push, because as soon as you walk away, you don't even need to send more than one member after it for Flowstate. They'll probably eliminate you on their own. They'll be fine. Bondruid, though, already has to use the ultimate to stay alive. It will still fall. No, Spooky. This is not going to go well at all.
Right out of that inhibitor, right to his death. That's got to break. The defense for Roguenin, middle inhibitor, goes down. Right side inhibitor being looked at. Flowstate, I wouldn't be surprised if they're looking at the core as well. They're destroying all 3 inhibitors on this single push. There's still 4 members alive for Roguenin. They still have ultimates. They still have abilities available. It's just a matter of how they can use them here. Minions stepping forward to the core. Flowstate want to wrap this one up quickly here. 5 strong. Being patient. Now the damage comes through. Now the push starts. Jax going in first, trying to buy some space. The Colosseum comes in on the back to force Haru out. But Peak has taken a lot of damage himself. Core still getting drained down as Jax goes down. I don't know if they have any more. Wangle falls. It's just Haru, just Bon Druid, and it's not enough. Roguenin fall down, and Flowstate continue to flow with the victories.
Oh, it's so unfortunate because you could see it happening from the get-go, right? We said it, they kind of need to be ahead because if they get behind, it's very hard for them to come back, and that's exactly what happened. Even a little split push shenanigan couldn't save them, and with the overwhelming odds against them, they couldn't get there. Roguenin, unfortunately, done for PCC7. They played a fair few games, though. I think they've played more games than they have in any previous PCC, which is great about the current format, but unfortunately, no more games for them. And it's going to mean that Flowstate still survives.
Yeah, Roguenin, while they do fall, it has marked a consistent improvement throughout their series so far. We love to see that. It does mean, like you said, Flowstate gets to move on. Roguenin is out. And with 3 Undying on the side of Flowstate, both backliners throughout the entire game did not fall once. That is an impressive performance. I think everyone's heard enough from you and me here, Mano. Let's toss it back to the desk, because we got one more set after this. Let's have them break it down.
Thank you, Spooky and Mano. One more we do have indeed, but we have to talk about what we just saw from Flowstate and Roguenin. An interesting thing, and I know we had a lot of discussions while that game was going on between the three of us. Grady, what's your main takeaway?
I'll say a lot of it came down to the draft, in my opinion, right? Like Roguenin, Flowstate both facing elimination, not moving on to main event, backs against your wall, and Roguenin decide they want to cook a little bit. I see the vision, low CC, very, very heavy dive comp, but those are very, very difficult to execute, right? Whereas on the side of Flowstate, we said the word a million times by now, we're beating a dead horse, control, control, control. Very easy to execute comp. Not very, by no means is their comp difficult to execute. And we see that not just on paper, but in their gameplay as well. Simba all over the map. We saw this early Xeris rotate, early picks. The dive comp needed to be ahead, right? We need Rampage, we need Greystone. We need them to be big initiation threats, and they just were not that game.
Tang, you got anything to add to Grady's points about what we saw in it?
Yeah, honestly, after this one, I think they might need some glasses, because I can't really follow that vision too much as well. That was a bit rough, especially with Peak getting that early rotation. Honestly, after level 1 and 2, honestly, as the Greystone, you are expected to be pushed in against the Xeris, and then Peak just leverages that, goes mid lane, gets the kill on the Wangle, then they bait out Jax as well, get a double kill, then dual lane gets a 2v2 kill, and then suddenly everything's on fire. And then, as Grazi just said, right, it's such an easy comp to execute. It's just stun, into gray screen, it's just over, right? And then even with a good prime steal by Jax, it just doesn't matter, right? Because at that point, the map is just already burnt. Every 3 Fang Tooths down, all the gold in the pockets of Flowstate that honestly played really well around their comp, so definitely deserved winning this one.
Well deserved indeed, and we also want to say thank you to Roguenin for participating. Unfortunately, we will not be seeing them in our main stage. We have one more team to find out who will be joining it. We're going to get to that after this break, but before that, don't forget to support the PCC. Reach down there, push that follow button, push that subscribe button, go over to our YouTube, to our X, to our Instagram, to our TikTok. You'll find us all over the internet, anywhere there is Predecessor content. We'll be right back.